and there you go. That is now an asset within Unity. You don't have to do one at a time if you don't want to. I'm going to select these other three and drag and drop all three into Unity. And there we go, importing, and there we go. So now we have 4 textures in our textures folder. These textures can be found for free on our website. Our website is in the description below. So if you're struggling to find your own textures, as I say, our site is full of assets that you can use for free, you don't have to pay. So next thing we'll do is let's apply this crate texture here to just one of our crates, and let's see what happens. So drag and drop this texture straight onto this object, and you'll notice it textures it. However, it also creates this folder here called materials. Now, a texture can't directly go onto an object, only a material can go onto an object. So whenever you drag texture onto any object, it will by default create this material here. So if we were to drag this texture onto here, it wouldn't create a new one because that material already exists. Now we could modify this material, but there's no need for us to do. But I will show you how to create a material now. In this folder, material, right click, create, and then you'll notice you do have a massive list. You don't need to worry about much of them for now. The one you need just for now is material. So let's name this one Floor 001. Now we could drag and drop this tile texture straight onto our floor, but that wouldn't be so good. We need to drag it onto this material first, because ideally we could do with modifying it. So with this in your inspector, sorry, I should show that again, just make sure you do have this selected, this material, don't click off it, head into textures, and then drag this tile texture over here onto this top square here. and it will apply that texture, as you can see, to the material. Now I'm not going to play around too much with the settings because the way we have it set at the moment is pretty much how we would like it. We just need to kind of do the tiling. So, for example, if I was to drag and drop this here, you can see, if we zoom
Building your business online takes effort, and when it's ready for the world to see,
out, let's double click here. You can see that it has applied just one of these textures to an entire object, and that looks way too big. So if we go to it and let's change the tiling to, let's change it to the same size as our object. If you remember, we did 100 by 100. So let's change the tiling to 100 by 100. Let's zoom back in. And there we can see it has actually made a proper tiling effect. It actually looks like the texture that we imported, except better. So we have these other two textures. I don't think we'll use them in this tutorial, but we will be using them in the next tutorial because we're going to obviously put some walls in eventually. So I think it's now time to have a little play around with maybe a little bit of physics. By all means, if you don't want to use these textures, you can have a look on Google. Ideally, you need to look for something called seamless textures, as that makes the texture and material flow quite neatly if you're doing this to your floor. And you have to remember, Unity is not a model. Modeling app, well, program studio, whatever you want to call it. It's not for modeling, it is just for game development. I am going to try and do as much as I can without modeling. There may be questions about performance. Is it too much? Are there too many objects? Don't worry. Generally, for beginners, doing it all this way is good practice. And we will be using models. Don't get me wrong, we will be using models. In fact, I think the next episode we'll be using a gun, which is a model, but I'll go into that next episode. So let's do some physics. So let's go into our first crate. And let's go to the inspector, and you'll have a few different options here. You've got a mesh filter, box collider, mesh renderer. Don't need to worry about much of them. The one I'm going to go to this is box collider. Now a collider stops your player kind of running through the box. So kind of glitching through the box, if you will. So you'll notice, if I zoom in, there is a green line surrounding our box just here. That is the collider. So for example, if we were to change it and make it larger, you would see the green line extends outwards, making the collider area much bigger than the object itself. So having a size of 1 by 1 by 1 makes it the exact same size as the object. Now, if we were to, tell you what, let's set our camera up first. Our camera, you can see a quick scene view there. So I'm just going to show you something. If you were, for example, to drag this crate up into the air and then press play, by pressing play you go to your game view and you can actually physically play. You will see that the box itself is just hanging in the air. There's no physics attached to it. To attach physics, click on your object, add component, go to physics, And then at the very top you'll have something called rigid body. Rigid body you'll see that the box itself is just hanging in the air. There's no physics attached to it. To attach physics, click on your object, add component, go to physics, and then at the very top you'll have something called rigid body. Rigid body does create sort of simple physics within your game. So just by adding it, by default it comes with use gravity as ticked. So this crate would now theoretically come crashing down to Earth if we press play. And it does. So that's now created physics for this crate. Now if we had our player in there, our player will be able to push this object around. But I'm not going to go into too much detail with all this. You can have a bit of fun playing with the numbers here. So let's put this as, I'll tell you what, let's actually manually put this in as 5. You can also drag using a slider next to it. It is It is kind of invisible, but if you put your mouse there and drag along, you can change the numbers. So you can see by increasing this drag, it kind of slows down the gravity. It drags it a little. So if we double that to 10, it should fall even slower, kind of in slow motion.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good
So let's set this back to its a default setting of 0, so it has no drag, and once again press play, it would do that. So just to recap on that, when you press play, it renders everything that you have in your scene view. So if you have scripts attached to any of your objects, it will run them at the same time. So I'm hoping now, I'm zooming out, and this crate I'm actually going to place on the y-axis as, let's say, 100. So as it is kind of quite high in the sky. So when we press play, give it a couple of seconds, we should see it come falling down. And you notice, as it fell then, it kind of wobbled a bit when it landed. Again, that is the physics. So let's bring this back to, let's bring it to 10. Let's zoom in. And I'm going to rotate now to see what happens when it falls when we rotate. So let's rotate it kind of this way. way or that way, so we need to go on the Z or Z axis. So let's put that as 45. And now let's press play to render. It kind of gets stuck. So let's change it to, I don't know, a good number, 20. Hopefully it should fall. There we go. There's the physics right there. So having it on an angle of 45, because it's such a perfect angle, it kind of makes it balance perfectly on its side like that, which is kind of glitchy, but it's kind of funny. And I'm hoping if we were to actually change it just a little bit less, maybe to 40, it wouldn't quite balance so much, and it would collapse down. So now let's put that back to 0. Let's put it back on our floor by putting 1.5, and that should bring it back down. Yes. Okay, one last thing we'll do. You'll notice that we actually are working on the box on the left-hand side. However, when we press play, it's doing it on the right-hand side. The reason for that is the main camera. Our main camera is currently looking this way at our scene, whereas we were looking the other way. So rather than move the camera for now, well, the camera will be deleted in the next episode when we go further into it, but for now let's keep it there and let's quickly recap. If we drag up our right side box, then the right side will fall because we've switched our sides. There. So back to the ground. Let's head to our other crate, and again, if you remember, add component, physics, rigid body. We're not going to add a rigid body to floor because that would be at the moment kind of silly, but there are options to add physics to your floor without it going a bit funny. So if you were to add it now, it would just
Building your business online takes effort, and when it's ready for the world to see,
make the floor fall forever. So we'll leave that episode there for now. As I say, these textures are free on our website if you head over there. Sure, it's still not looking quite like a first-person. Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas, and welcome to this, the third in a series of video tutorials. Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas. Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas, and welcome to this, the third in a series of video tutorials on how to make a first-person shooter in Unity 5. So carrying on from